many of the people who have been beneficiaries of this corruption, you know, like what you'll find, what you typically call, which is a misnomer, the so-called middle class, as they're being dissolved, and now they want the republic back, they'll call it sovereignty groups. But what they really, across the United States mainly, wherever the United States jurisdiction is. All right, now, with the Spanish Inquisition is the Inquisition against the Moors and Yahudi, which is a black marker. I'm going to show you a sequence. And because this is where you have your secret societies to maintain the corruption, you have to maintain, like anything, any structure, in order for it to continuously operate with limited flaws and interruptions, you have to have what you would call secret societies. Meaning that the masses get a certain degree of education, and then the classes have another education that has absolutely nothing to do with what the masses think or believe. So the masses get dogma, but they're convinced that they get religion. All right?
Oh, religion, not politics.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They get dogma. The masses get fiat. They're convinced they get money. The masses get color of law. They're convinced they get jurisprudence. And they get the absolute opposite, which is the basis of all of the social, political, spiritual, economic problems on the planet coming right from the Vatican.
So what's hegemony?
Hegemony is what people refer to loosely as white supremacy, which is a misnomer. When you hear the general term that's used, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, anywhere where you have European colonial operations, they refer to it loosely as white supremacy. That's the Christian hegemony under the Bishopric of Rome, the enforcement of the Spanish Inquisition against the Moors and Yahudi, both of which is Asiatic people who have been branded Negroes, blacks, coloreds, whatever crayons they've been tagged with that have nothing to do with reality, but it makes them, in law, not descendable. So all of these layers of frauds is based in the hegemony. I mean, that's being specific.
Like worldview. Hegemony means like
No, this means like this, as an example. All right, you got any modicum of success whatsoever? Look like you got any resources? They accuse you of being a witch, stick your eyes out, and the church gets your estate. Of course, since you're the devil, you deserved it, and this is how the church has got its finance. This is how it became big, what it is right now. And then they started doing it to nation states. They didn't even change the pattern. You know, and so that's the hegemony.
So hegemony is like entitlement, where it's okay for them
even though
to
it's
lie
based
to
in
you
color.
and take your stuff.
Even though it's based in color. In other words, like say for instance, under a color block of operations, they say, what's your name?
Zing.
Zing?
Z-I-N-G, zing.
Zing. Oh, Zing, the sister.
Zing.
Stuff. Yeah. Yes.
So let's say, Zing, you can't tie your left sneaks on Thursday.
Right.
And you said, they had a new law out. It says starting Thursday, you can't tie your left sneak, right? So you tie your left sneak, and then they accuse you of terrorism.
Right.
For tying your left sneak on Thursday.
Right.
So they'll come in your house,
But you get to
kill your
law.
babies, and if you fight back, you're really a terrorist.
Yes.
I mean, you don't even have a right to protect your own property.
Right.
Then they murder you, steal all your wealth, and that's what they've been doing over
They're
and over
doing
again.
that every day. Yep.
Now, that's the hegemony,
Okay.
all right?
Thanks.
For years when they had that CIA man in Isabella, which we know as Cuba, and then all the Christian ministers and the politicians had their whorehouses down there with 13 and 14-year-old girls, and it just got so rotten in bed that mothers came out fighting the U.S. Army with sticks. And of course, as usual, they slaughtered them because they're expendable. But it didn't make good for press. You understand? And so they trained an agent in Texas and told Batista he'd have to step down. Of course, they get used to the trinkets. And a little bit of resistance, but anyway, so they trained a double agent in Texas, and they displaced Batista. But when the double agent got in there, he nationalized Cuba, you know, and got all the Christian ministers out, and GM, and all of the rapers. Of course, they hate him. His name is Castro. That's the real reason they hate him. You know, that activity is the hegemony. It is meaning that almost everything that they represented as good has actually been the opposite.
Right.
And it has continuously caused injury on humanity, continuously. And it's always been disguised as either being some terrorist, the communist,
Right.
and their favorite, the devil did. Well, it's the favorite, you know. And of course, that's not working too good anymore, because even though people are slow, very slow, you know, they're starting to wake up that,
A few.
you know, the devil game has been a tool of the priesthood,
Yeah,
And-
sure.
successfully,
Yeah.
you know. But yet people have been steeped in it for so many generations that they're still, it's hard for them to shed it.
Oh, yeah, I've got clients.
And
who
so
have a
there's-
real problem
Their
with that.
families are still being sacrificed, because you cannot violate divine law, no matter what you claim, and then not reap a consequence, because it doesn't recognize personal station. So all of these believing people around the world, all they see is misery, death, their families falling apart with all of their salvation. Of course, it doesn't work because they've been following after Rome, not knowing they're following after Rome. You know,
Right.
and so that's the hegemony. Now, good.
It's not even, I was thinking, I don't know why it flew in my mind, but Walt Disney and that whole concept is a part of the hegemony,
Yes.
because it has been putting out a false concept of this,
Even those underground
because
stuff
of
they
the
got
things
at
they've done with
Disneyland.
children, to children,
Yeah,
in this.
they got underground stuff at Disneyland for the elite. They've been raping children, and
Yeah.
killing them for years.
Yeah, they've been,
Everybody else knows it but the people here.
and we look at the movies, oh, the wonderful world of Disney,
Mhm.
and go, if you only knew.
Now, and it's important, you know, for people to really know the history and law together in order to actually, because you can't cure something, you can't bring healing to anything when you don't know its origin. We can pretend we're good at that, which is, of course, why the world's so greatly in disorder. You know, like if 2 and 2 is 4, and enough people say 2 and 2 is 4, and everybody keeps getting broke, we have to kind of figure out sooner or later, it's either we can't count, or 2 and 2 ain't 4. You know, intelligence says that you can't continue in the name of good, do things in the name of good, and the outcomes are always destructive. Nature doesn't acknowledge that. We keep acknowledging that. And only because, not because we deal with the facts, that we're usually blinded by our belief systems and are reluctant to examine them or to release them. Therefore, in divine law, we actually promote the destruction. You know, of course, we don't see it that way because then the devil did it. You know, the scapegoat devil. You know, and you notice that the people that promote it are the only ones that are not scared of it. They keep getting paid $3,000 suits and big shows on TVs around the world and stuff. And the masses keep getting screwed. And they pay the bills, and they haven't figured it out yet. You know, just like, you know, the same paradigm where you have adults keep promoting to their children that Jesus has a bank account at Chase Manhattan, and make sure you give them his half. And then they actually act shocked because their cousin went to the Bahamas and they saw Susie with the preacher. Can't believe it. Yeah, please. Spending Jesus' half. I mean, this stuff has been going on like forever. Unfortunately, we people, adults particularly, we've been lying to ourselves and our children for so many generations that it's hard for us to accept the truth even when it smacks us in the face like a bus falling off a roof. And we still, let me examine it. Is it possible?
No, when I put stuff up on Facebook, I get so much repercussion from people telling me I'm crazy.
No, because that's how much truth or anything that's done in honor is immediately attacked. But that tells you the imbalance. But it also tells you why we're sick. Because you can't be in disharmony with nature and not pay a cost. Belief has nothing to do with it. Because the mind is powerful. And if you corrupt it with belief systems that are based in false doctrine, nature doesn't say, well, they say God, Jesus, Allah, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, therefore we'll let them slide. No, it doesn't. You go dive, using the Chase Manhattan building for a diving board, most likely it's going to hurt when you hit the bottom. Believing is not going to save people, but they insist on doing that. Oh, that's the ABG that what's the brother? When he bumped it back up?
Truth?
No. Tarik. The one that set and rock.
Yeah.
He was supposed to put he put his ABG on it.
What is
Virusing.
that? Is that
His ABG.
for virus protection?
Yeah. He put his own on there. I think he's limited.
How many he could put?
Yeah. Anyway, this is the foundation of modern world politics across the board. That's why they don't talk about it. Of course, once you understand the root of things, whether you have the power directly, politically, or economically to overcome it is not the argument. The issue of not knowing about it, you actually feed it. And in feeding it, you actually, how would you say, set the seeds for your own destruction. It's only a matter of time, whether it's sooner or later. And this is what is happening. And as you can see, one of the things that's taking place today in world politics with all this, that's why the comment's gonna hit you. And look out for Nibiru. And really, false flags. You know what I mean? Most of them.
But it doesn't mean, though, that they're not
It doesn't
going to do something to make it seem like
including holograms and everything else.
holograms.
See, because they don't want everybody to know that they've used those black budgets to back engineer a lot of the apparatus that they found beneath pyramids. It's not just stuff that came from other parts, and so on a military basis, the industrial complex is about a couple hundred years ahead of the people. And the technologies that they discovered that were already here thousands of years ago, they've been suppressing in order to hold humanity in servitude with destructive practices of fossil burning, fracking the water, but it's really just to kill the population. That's what it's really for.
So if we have, say, the top 10 steps for undoing the results of the Spanish Inquisition, what would they be?
First, state of mind. Almost everything is state of mind first. See, it's sort of like a lie lives because we feed it.
Right.
Meaning that people's beliefs in things, what the dark priesthood refer to as blind faith is necessary because it's food. But people who don't know how the body works don't know that they're batteries, that they're energy.
Right.
And that vampires are real, and they actually feed off them. And they're in the priesthood and in politician and in the political realm. That's where the majority of your vampires are. That's why even when they sit at the uterus, substituting themselves for mother, they call it a pulpit. I mean, they don't really hide. They like playing word games too, because they tell people what they're going to do to them.
Right.
It's just that people can't read. Or if they do
We've got the
read,
Trans-Pacific
they don't
Agreement
believe.
right now in front of Congress, and nobody's making a fuss.
Because they're all part of it. See, this is the whole point. All right, let's look at this. Let's look at general, let's deduce contemporary. It's all related, but contemporary. All right, so the average person, scholars know, people in secret societies know, The general priesthood know. The masses, some know, but some don't take it seriously. All right, so the foundation of contemporary politics is the coup that took place in 1871. And as you already know, that the Congress adjourned sine die 1861. Now, the Constitution, the American Constitution.
Excuse me, who was the president at the time?
1861?
Yeah.
1861, think of 1861.
I have terrible memory.
Lincoln.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
Okay, so I know what you're
Yeah.
doing.
And of course, you know, they bumped them off with Emancipation Proclamation stuff, because the original one, we would have been recolonized between the Rockies and the Alleghenies. And then, of course, they would have pretty much given most of the land back. That was really one of the major reasons why they readjusted it twice. So it was 1862, 1863, and then finally in 1865. In 1865, they set up the Freedmen's Bureau. And the Freedmen's Bureau was supposed to nationalize the indigenous people, give back their Christian, what they refer to as Christian names, European names, because that's the tag of property under the Spanish Inquisition, or what you call the ens legis branding. So when they put their family names on the Asiatics of the North, anything that they would buy or sell with the mark or the number of that name would automatically be hypothecated to the popes of Rome via their military arm, which is United States Corporation Company, which is not a country. So they had to promote that it's a country. And so people believed it. And once they started projecting it, their energy builds that hologram of the monster. The people's belief, they themselves build it. This is why it said Satan has no power except what you keep giving him. So stop crying, which means take your power back. But people get in the devil, I made peanut butter sandwiches. And just when we was getting ready to put the jelly on it, here comes the devil. And that's always the argument. You know what I mean? And God was making beautiful stuff, and then the devil came and spoiled the party. Well, how long he's going to keep getting away with this since everybody's praying and doing all your goody stuff? How come God keeps losing?
Yeah, what kind of picture is that?
You know, and if he made the devil, you know, why don't he just kick his keisters? Why he want to charge you with kicking the devil's keisters? And he didn't give you the same power, but he's going to charge you with failure because you can't overcome the devil that he made. That's his boy. But you're responsible for what you do, but why don't he take responsibility for his boy? I mean, you know, child can see that, but we have difficulty accepting that because then it challenges our faith. Do you understand? But yet it is honorable, it's honorably real. Just like, you know, the Holy Ghost never got charged with adultery for caressing Joseph's wife's key stores. You know, all this kind of stuff. And a child can rationalize that, but the parent will beat the child up until they accept things that are totally contradictory to what they're saying. But it creates an energy paradigm. Because everything is energy. And it goes right into the atmosphere. And of course makes us sick. Then the vampires feed on us. Then they point to the mystery devil. Anybody you point, he's over there. He's there. And you know, they got their hand in your left pocket, and the politicians got their hand in your right pocket, and they're both talking about they're separate. And they got these 501c3 agreements in the background, and then the devil gets charged for it. You know, no different than the general story. Now we already know the real Kabbalistic foundation of the books. However, they're not taught Kabbalistically. But as the stories are told, you know, like you can take a child, 3 years old, divine reasoning without corruption, and just tell them the story of Jesus, the work that Jesus was doing, his battle with the money changers, the whole game, and child said, oh, wow, that's so unfair, because these preachers, I mean, the rabbi, they're supposed to be his boys and everything, and they're jealous of him because he's schooling the common people of the real spirituality that they don't want to tell. And then the Romans are really messing over people, and they're having these secret meetings with the priests, and they're acting like they're separate, and then they're both threatened by him, so they get together, and they assassinate his character, and then the priesthood deliver him to Pontius Pilate, and Pontius Pilate tries to play innocent, and I'm gonna wash my hands, but if y'all really wanna off him, you know, I'll help you along the way. And then the devil gets blamed for it. And everybody's mad at the devil raising finance for the priesthood. And the child say, well, why you mad at the priesthood? They're the ones that did it. And then the Romans that lynched them. Those are the conspirators right there. It's the devil. And everybody's fighting the devil, and the priesthood's been raping people ever since. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And a child can see that, but adults refuse to see what is obvious because it doesn't fit their beliefs. They must protect their beliefs. They must protect the drugs. And it's because it's really what it is. It's opiate. And then anyone...
It's the opiate of the people.
Yeah, and anyone who's willing to challenge it, they will kill them, literally. You know, how many women have they lynched right here, right up here in Jersey and Salem? They even saved a few trees. Who maintained any of the earth culture. And witches, and would dig their eyes out and lynch them on the trees or drown them on fulcrums in the lakes and then take their estates. Now they got all these beautiful cathedrals, houses of God. Come on. We know it's government ordinance departments, but they don't. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's an acronym. And it's not a secret amongst priests, it's just a secret amongst the masses. Do you understand? The world is waking up, even though it's late. This is why they're dumping the UST bond. Because just like they talked about the blood diamonds in Africa, that is called the blood, they will say blood money, but it isn't money. Those are blood instruments, birth certificates, marriage certificates, original manufactured titles of origins, and the dead pledges, which they call mortgages. The contract is dead and the people are the pledge. Slow genocide. And the world is finally figuring it out. And they're dumping the bonds because that's the bondage. In order to starve the beast because they can't beat the Pope's army because he's created a death machine against humanity itself and the earth. So to save the world has to decide whether they want to serve divine law or Rome. That's where they're caught.
So for example, if we just started, say, in this neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
what could we do in this neighborhood amongst each other that would counter that mindset?
Because until you clean the mind, let's look at it like this. This is a principle, a divine principle, although many people may not look at it that way. When it says, honor thy mothers and thy fathers, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land which the Lord thy God has given thee. That's an estate. The miseries in these communities is a lack of their estate via the theft of their birthrights under European colonial operations called the Spanish Inquisition. Even the crime that goes on is because they're deprived of the basic needs of life and are imposed or forced into corrupt areas by design. Go ahead.
So a first
Truth.
step or a
Truth.
step, okay, would be truth, and then work all together like a cooperative? Say, what if we turned the community into a cooperative and made sure everybody had housing and food and...
Beautiful. And they were corrupted because it would be under the state's jurisdiction and it would make sure it doesn't work.
Right.
See, it's back to, unless people look at things realistically and start dealing with the root of the problem, all of the symptoms that we keep trying to address, good intentions. If you don't remove their power to do what they do, it matters not. Because one, they have a black budget just for killing off people that do anything good for people. One of the easiest ways to get killed is to tell the truth. One of the easiest ways for your IRS to you set up any account and for them to go ahead and break you that way is for you to really help the people. We're not saying what you say you do. You're saying, let them really start changing those conditions. And see if they don't do a black ops on you. And goodwill and divine prayer ain't gonna help you. Why? Because the systems were created by them to keep the masses in a passive state of obedience. Because the masses have never really been given spirituality, they've been given dogmata.
Right.
And it's been called spirituality. And so the natural powers that people have within themselves are suppressed simply by their thought process, because their thought processes are corrupted with their fake belief systems.
So we will also train them how to use that energy from within, their own energy battery self.
Now, what is the key?
They're living?
Now, for one to be actually effective, right, one must know oneself.
Right.
If one is in disharmony with your own true nature, what you can do by default, because those energies are natural, you can help, but then you'll also be hurting people because your corruptions will flow through the energy. And it's back to truth. We have to tell the truth of what's going on and fix this thing. In other words, what it is, I think we've gotten so caught up in artfully dealing with the symptoms that we keep putting our greater energies in the symptoms, in symptom comforts, not with lack of success. Yes, we've had successes. But until you pull that root out of the ground, because we have the children playing in the yard every year, we have to treat them for poison sumac and poison ivy. And so we go out there every year and we chop down the leaves and stuff, and they get it every year. We need to stop expending that energy, clear the children out of the yard, put nice plastic gloves and suits on, and go dig them daggone roots up and stop playing like we don't know what's really up. Until you fix the root of the problem, these symptoms will remain, and we've got caught into symptom comforts. As a matter of fact, if you pay attention to most organizations that we have that address so-called the human condition, they're symptom comforts. And they're usually to some semi-degree, even sanctioned by the corporate entities with kickbacks and
absolutely.
so-called, because they already know they're not going to work. Yes.
I was in a meeting just the other day, and a lady came in on a walk-in thing we had for the city, and her complaint was she had gotten housing now, but while she was homeless, when she was looking for a place to stay, she had to go into the homeless system in order to get housing. She had to not only go into the homeless system, but she had to get the drugs.
Yes.
We have a thing.
Part of the program.
And she was saying, she said, I've never been on drugs, I've never had this, she said, but in order for me to get housing, I had to subject myself to, I guess they give them the when they
Test.
Yeah,
Kill yourself.
the kill yourself drugs. She had to go, and she said, I'm here. Yeah, they make you go through this process of having some kind of dual diagnosis. She wasn't on drugs, she didn't have an alcohol problem, she was homeless. And so in order to get shelter, she had to actually subject herself to being prescribed medication to say that she was bipolar, schizophrenic, and she was saying, I wasn't.
That was required because that's part of the King Alfred Rex 84 plan, slavery and genocide. This is the warning. If they offer you anything, get ready to lose a limb, a kidney, or 5 to 10 years off your life. Because they're going to put nanoviruses, if they go in your golden stream, you're done. Don't let them touch your babies. I don't care what they tell you. It needs a vaccine and it. Don't, it's like, it's sort of like generation after generation after generation after generation after generation. These people keep believing that these people have anything in their interest. They're here to destroy and to exploit and to drop the shell when it's done. What has the record shown? They colonize, they exploit, they rape, they take the gold and the silver, the jewels, then they genocide the people. And it has never been different. Not once. There's no exception. And whatever technologies they use it as part of the tools. Look at how many technologies that when you go or you deal with other people from other countries, right? Even though they've been suppressed from European colonial operations. We'll talk about technologies that are far advanced than this, but they can't do anything because they'll bomb them. You know, just like Second World War, right? They used the water technology for fuel that can be used now only because of the war. Then they put it back on the shelf afterwards, and then you had a few people that worked with water in fuels with regular carburetors, and they killed them. And then those who do a patent, they steal it or kill them, and the same thing goes on. It's never been different.
Tesla, the energy.
It's never been different. You know, so this is, you know, it's sort of like we get into this. We watch them poison people, and then we talk about how we can soothe their kidneys that are malfunctioning. And let's start a kidney soothing. You know, it's like we're so caught up in symptom reflections, reflecting on symptoms. Truth is, man has to decide whether they're going to deal with that which is divine or they're going to follow Rome. That's it. And everything in between is just passing the death off to the next generation. And this is what if we're to be charged with anything, that's what we're charged with. We've sacrificed generations. That's why the children now don't believe in the adults. Because they already know that we hypocrites. You know, they love us. You know, but they don't believe in us. They really don't. You know, they accept that we've punked out because we don't have the courage or the God power that we keep claiming we have to overcome these adversities. And we're full of it. And that's pretty much it. Now, law, divine law does not recognize personal stations, so therefore the hermetic principles of law that undergird the phenomena of the planet should be known by everybody. That's number one, how things really work. What they claim to be is irrelevant. Muslim, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, atheist, it's irrelevant. 2 and 2 is 4 or it's not. And it's just that simple. If we fix that, humanity will heal herself. Humanity can't heal herself because she's following after the priesthood. And she takes that which the priesthood has presented as the ultimate arrival point. That's why the world is poisoned. Because they've accepted dogma as the achievement of their personal relationship with God.
Please.
But sign in.
We're done.
Do you understand? And so what I see is people who care, people who have love, take the energy that is in themselves, that they recognize, which is actually in all of us, but is suppressed in most. And then they drain their lives to sacrifice to help humanity, and of course they only have so much energy, even though that energy is boundless for them. But every being is part of the light. And so you would give to inspire them to look towards the light that's actually in themselves. And they're only blocked because of these belief systems that they've adopted in the name of religion, but it's really not religion. You know, and because that's why it doesn't work. I mean, and it doesn't mean, you know, it's not condemning people for their beliefs, it's just looking at the mathematical evidence. The mathematical evidence says the masses of the world, been making claims of their special relationships with Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad, Buddha, and everyone else. And they're fine, but for the most part, they lose their personalities altogether. They're not even allowed to have one. They imitate, they're still flawed, and they can't fix a darn thing. And they're always making promises and taking people's finances and produce absolutely nothing. And then critique others who are not in the game with them, who are also criticizing them because they're not in the game with them. None of their stuff works. But it usually works for the leader guy. He usually has a nice suit, nice Lexus.
So what's the paradigm for leadership that the new leaders should be having when they're teaching and training?
The new paradigm, this is the new paradigm. And I was telling Dee this the other day. The really new paradigm is that every man must be a priest unto himself. And therefore, the fundamental truths that's been held back by the priesthood must be exposed to the masses, even though they resist. But that's the only way you're going to solve this problem. You must overcome the priesthood, because the priesthood is the devil that everybody feared. The mystery devil is the priesthood. And as long as the people still maintain in their venue that paradigm that the mosque, church, synagogue, etc., other than being vehicles for dispensing information, beyond that, when they start taking over people's lives, it's demonic. Do you understand? And they have been poisoning the planet. Just like if you do research in your stock, the largest stockholders of the arsenals of the world is the church. They're always talking about loving humanity. How come they're the largest stockholder? What does that tell anybody? But yet it would be denied. It's not something that's published. I mean, you can find it, but I'm just saying it's not something that everybody says, oh, see, the church got they're the largest stockholder because they care about humanity. Well, those bombs and toxic gas and bullets and hollow point ordnance equate to love for humanity.
Well, that's okay, because that's the things of this world, and that's not spiritual. It's okay for us to invest
All right,
in that.
now let's look at this. Yes, that's the easy one, right? Right? Then if that's the case, even that presentment, right? If that's the case, then why should we be concerned about what we do with this, since this is already considered discarded or of no value? And then why would you be judged, so-called, in the spiritual realm for what you produce here in the physical realm, which they tell you is discarded? That has no cause, no reason, no balance. Do you understand? There's a balance there that they don't want people to look at, in order that they not take responsibility in the physical and cause the very sicknesses and stuff that they keep on trying to escape by being out of order. And then feeling justified, see, because it's in this world, it's the spiritual. Won't get my $5 in the spirit. And give Reverend Jones my 10 right now.
Condition don't change.
Yeah, and the real deal of it is, the game continues, that's what. And it is a game. And the people need to accept that they've been gamed.
So I have a question, specifically about global warming.
Global warming, yes.
So there are scientists who say it's a fact of global warming. I have cousins who is a scientist, and he measures
Yes.
it and he says it's a fact. And then there's politicians I read about, two specifically, and their point of view, one of them's a Christian, and he says there is no such thing as global warming. And then there's this other guy who's a politician, he also says there's no such thing. And
How about Earth cycles? How about that? Looks like that summer, spring, autumn, winter. You have a cosmos cycle that takes place every 3,600 years. Well, that's what our records say. But in order for them to justify the fakery that they put in dogmata in the name religion, they can't acknowledge that we've been here longer than we've had, because then the doctrines that they've fed everybody falls apart. These are cycles. They always take place. The shifts take place. It's natural. It's part of the greater clock. It's called the clock of destiny. You got the clock. All right. Say look at the compound a few thousand years back. We had like watches that had 19 dials that dealt with 19 planets. And now we only deal with what? Venus, the moon, and the sun. Now they only deal with the sun and the moon. We fell backwards. We're not advanced. They know, everybody knows this. They just won't talk about it. You understand what I'm saying to you? We're full of it.
So if we're, as beings of light, are gonna take care of the physical,
We have a responsibility here. Everybody, this earth is two things. One, it's a school.
right,
Two, it's a pseudo prison.
right,
Everybody here that takes the form, there is no new spirits here. If there are, I doubt that there's any new ones here. Let's put it that way. So everybody's here, chose to come back to fix something that they didn't complete last time. That's why the veil is always usually pulled. Sometimes babies come, the veil's not totally pulled, and they try to start off where they left. And then some of our parents come back through our own children to fix things that was left undone. And then some people who are more advanced come back just to help, but they don't necessarily need to come back through any cycles. And that's fact. So, and they just tell people the truth. That's how this planet works. It's always been like that, and it's never been other than that. What has happened is that the priesthood has made all these dogmatas in the name of religion and still telling people the truth about the human condition. Yes, we're energy. We're just slowed down energy. The energy cycles just slow down. Even if you're healing, what are you doing? You're trying to balance the energy wheels. Because there's hundreds of them, but although everybody talks about the 7 major ones, it's hundreds of them. And really, if people just get back in harmony with nature, they just feel it out. It's just like natural. It's just they make this stuff. And if you really hold your left leg up like this, now hold it carefully, and take this middle finger and do it right there. Stop. If people would just be themselves, and they weren't so contaminated with the Eskedorf. See, it's sort of like all of these dogmatas are like taking little children with little bobby pins and tell them to stick it in a plug. They get shocked and the thing trips. And now the devil did it type thing, when you should just tell them the truth how the stuff works. You know what I mean? Ice. Raise the degree, 1 degree, right? From 32 to 33, it begins to flow. Take it up, 180 like that. After that, it starts boiling and stuff, right? Take it up a little more, it starts becoming a vapor. Take it up a little more, turns to gas. Well, the body is the same way, vibratory rate. There's no such thing as nothingness. It's just that there's some things that are too thin for the fleshly eyes to see, but yet you can sense the aura with the third eye. If you're not contaminated with a whole bunch of other crap. The deliberate poisonings of the food, deliberate false foods, suppressing of plants that are for food and for health that people are taught to poison on their lawns just because the priesthood wants to control them. And of course, the terrible conditions that everybody suffers, the devil did it. The old scapegoat. And so it's back to this. Let us resist not accepting that a lot of this stuff is very mundane. And you fix some of the mundane, and that which people would have attributed to the spiritual realm will be solved. Because as above, so below. We have energies on both sides. You know, this is why when you have the symbol hex alpha with the trine up and the trine down, which is really both masculine and feminine principle, but it's also duality.
It's drawn right there on that board.
Yes, and it's duality and it's balance. You take that trine down or up, and it's in balance. The same way with that same principle is taught in ancient culture for the use of the womb, in harmony with the movement of the womb, which governs the womb, just like it governs the tides. And so you bring what's needed here by doing the math of the wheel. It's called Ezekiel's wheel. It's simply the zodiac. The energies of the planet is just like seasonings. You put in that ankh, in that womb, and you use it scientifically, you bring here what we need. And they've always had, that's always been the culture until colonial operations. They killed it, and then we started following after the idol gods of Rome, and our families have fallen apart ever since. And that's called, you know, wise women, is still called the wise women says, witches, evils, the devilness. And we bought into it, gave up our culture, and now all we see is suffering. Our babies are dying younger and younger on the street. They pack the jails with our youth. Most of our youth don't think they're going to live past 30. And we want to talk about how safe they are. We're full of crap, and people need to tell us to our faces and stop the BS, acting like we want to deal with the symptoms that we created with this crap following after Rome, that nobody wants to admit that's what we've been doing. You understand? And so, back to the first level, the truth. Tell the truth. Truth's uncomfortable, but you're not going to fix this stuff. You know, you got to stop telling the people that elephant pee is Kool-Aid and tea. It's not green tea, and it's not bitter because it has special ingredients. And this is pretty much what they've been giving us in the name of religion and everything else. The only ones that have benefited from it has been the preachers, who claim to be separate, but they always got a left foot in the back of the White House making deals with a 501c3 that the masses don't know is a skull and bones agreement not to rock the boat. I mean, it's known by anybody that studies. But of course, when you have people with blind faith, you're not supposed to question things, you're just supposed to accept it. That's why we keep suffering. So, my position is this. Tempting, maybe, but I don't take the position that we're going to go out here and teach these youth self-esteem and all this other stuff when the parent is broke. And you're not going to be messing with people's children, ignoring their parents. And the children will be screwed up if the parents weren't screwed up. So how about this? How about we tell them the truth so that they don't get their children screwed up in the first place? Oh, but that's radical. What's radical? The truth is. Oh, that means you don't want the truth. No, we're not saying that. Well, that's what you just said. You know, either you're going to deal with the truth or you're not. Which means either you're going to really honestly start fixing things, or you're part of the problem pretending, because it may be profitable, to be fixing stuff by comforting the symptoms. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And I say to you that that's pretty much the culture around here, comforting the symptoms. And we've got how many organizations, alphabet soup organizations, comforting the symptoms as a standard rule. But of course, the people who promote them, if they're not at the heads, they're not part of it. And usually when they lose their positions for whatever corruption they're caught for, they leave the organizations because they're not taking a seat because they don't believe their own crap. It always costs the poor. Always costs the poor. And of course, a child could recognize this also. Listen, God is all powerful. He can do anything. And then the devil came and blew the roof off with the hurricane. And then we're going to have a fundraiser for God's house. Oh, why God stopped the devil from knocking this house down. How about that? And how come God's always broke every time you need him? And how come he never delivers? It's always a promise. See, a child can see that, adults can't. I know my great-great-great-grandmother, one day the Lord was going to save her. And she was praying, but I couldn't understand what she was saying. Why? Because the rope was tight and her prayers weren't coming out clear after they hung her and took her land. But she prayed on it. You know, we're full of it. Totally full of it. And it's time that we stop being full of it and deal with what's really the problems of the planet. And that's the hegemony. And from that comes and this is what Pope Francis recently made that treaty with representatives around the world, talking about they were terminating the Christian doctrine of discovery. See, because the doctrine of discovery and the secret treaty of Verona and the Spanish Inquisition are all one. They're just updated names for the same, they just changed the name. It's sort of like Model T.
And you say he
Crown Vic.
terminated it?
Huh?
You say he terminated it?
Well, they claim to. It ain't doing that. Say, so Pope Francis ends the Christian doctrine of discovery. This is the doctrine to carry out the Spanish Inquisition, and this is the treaty or the agreement between the Christian nations for the Christian hegemony for world conquest. This is the policies where it's like, you see, they'll see a brother walking down the street minding his business, and they'll do stop and frisk, and then say he has a gun and shoot him 3 times and steal his organs.
Right.
And they do it all over the country constantly. Everybody knows that they're doing it. That's the doctrine of discovery. Now, people who don't know what's really going on, oh, they're racist. Oh, they're just prejudiced. You know, that's for public consumption. Do you understand? Public consumption. Fact,
Keep 'em stirred
doctrine
up.
of discovery. That's what it is. Do you understand? Then from that you have and that's what's in operation.
I like how you put that in chronological order.
That's in general order, but understand one is the other. In other words, they make minor adjustments politically in order for this to be carried out. That's why you have secret societies. That's why all your secret societies, and particularly your major secret societies, will wear the Moorish fez, dressed in jewels, while pretending they don't know that these people they've conquered are Moors. Do you understand?
No, I missed that bit. What's that?
All right, like you go to Washington, D.C., you see the Order of the Mystic Prophets. All of your secret societies in their secret rituals will wear the Moorish fez and dress it in jewels.
Right.
And they'll tie the tassel down. It's because the land is Morocco. People think the land is the United States. The land is Morocco. It's called the Maghreb. also called cosmologically the North Gate, because it is domiciled galactically under the northern hemisphere of the universe. It's referred to as the North Gate. Shriners refer to themselves as the keepers of the North Gate, etc. This is also why they have that mummers parade in Philadelphia, and they dress or assemble on 6th and Moore Street ritually. And they go west, young man, Horace Greeley. And they pass the battleground, which is City Hall, which is designed just like a mosque. And it has the Zodiac Constitution right in the middle of the courtyard with the 4 gates. And the North Gate is the Dresden Gate. All of them are pseudo-architecturally detailed, but the North Gate is more elaborate. And where you have men holding up the pillars of Atlas, Morocco. And then you have the parapet, and you have Billy Penn, which they placed on a few years back, a couple decades back. And he's facing the Masonic Lodge 23.5 degrees east by northeast. And then you have the Grand Lodge, 1 North Broad Street, where the parade ends with the Moorish architecture in the front. And so that's why all those who are in positions of power must be Masons, must wear Moorish feathers. That's why you have the Daughters of the American Revolution in Washington, D.C., all marble building, and you'll see Dolly Madison's clothes, and then she has a turban. You never see her leave it without a turban.
So you're saying that the Moorish nation and the Shriners and the Masons are the same thing?
No.
No,
The Moors have been conquered.
right.
What they're doing is what you call substitute. This is what they call substitute passwords, substitute rituals.
So the substitute is the Masons and the
No, is that the
Shriners.
Mason is a study of mother and son. Mother would be Osset. The son on her knee would be Horus.
Mhm.
The duplication of that image would be Mary and Jesus symbol, which is the same thing. It's a duplication. So what you have is a substitute. This is what they have. Like, they do the ritual of Hiram Obith. High, Ram, Sun High, Obith, father, the architect, buried in the dark north, etc. So that's what they do. They come in here and they take her and they lock her down in the bathroom, in the closet, and they bring somebody else and they sit her here and put her. The same thing they did with the Queen there, because the Queen there is a substitute even in England. You know, they've done this all over the planet. You know, and people who know what's really up. The problem that you have is that the masses are asleep, and you need their energy redirected to heal the planet. There's no mystery to this. It's that they're harmonically in disorder. The lack of harmony creates negative vibrations, which creates sickness. Well, it's called dis-ease. So most disease, even though they may have chemical admixtures that are not good, most disease is really mental state. And if you can change the vibrational rate of the being, they'll heal themselves. So why the book says, physician, stop pretending, heal yourself. No, because my belief says it, and that's because my Lord of God, oh, stop it. And no one has the courage to do that. And so we keep suffering because we don't have the courage to deal with the truth, because it means we got to discard a lot of things that we've accepted as real. We don't want to give up that blanket. Like that little cartoon, you know, Lucy, what was that? Charlie Brown?
Oh, Charlie
Linus.
Brown.
Yeah, it has a little blanket with flies on it. He's handicapped because he has no arm. Why he has no arm? Because he won't release the blanket.
Right.
So he's handicapped. And it doesn't make him secure, but yet mentally, that's a security blanket. But anyway, so just like, you know, the end's leg is the corpse. This is, keep in mind, after they closed the Freedmen's Bureau, 1868. Now, this is where, from the 3630 parallel argument, this is where the Aboriginals were to be recolonized between the Rockies and the Alleghenies. This is where you get your 40 acres and a mule issue from that they never delivered on. That's why they closed the Freedmen's Bureau in 1868, and in 1868 they created the Ens-Leges Corps, which is known as the 14th Amendment. And then they suppressed the original article of Amendment 13, the Nobility Clause, with its 20 sections. And then they redisposed just those 2 articles that they teach the children in the school with the so-called 13th Amendment. And the 14th and 15th Amendment was spuriously created to cover up the Nobility Clause. And they created the corpse.
Would that be the nobility of the Moorish or?
Of course it is. You know, that's why, like, if you see, when they did that movie, Birth of a Nation, that they showed in the palace, I think that was the first, they would call it a talkie movie, what they used to call them, something like that. And where they showed the Moors were senators and congressmen, and they showed them and they would call them black people. And they would be eating chicken and watermelon with coattails and just like step-infested type image. That was representing the overthrow. Do you understand? But yet people will look at the movie and get so caught up in this spurious race argument that they don't pay attention to those are the congressmen and senators. I thought they were the slaves. But they're looking at the spoof and get caught up in the emotion of that argument rather than recognize that the United States Republic was overthrown. There's a distinction between the republic and the democracy order that the people are suffering under right now.
One of our very prominent melanated senators who's gone on his transition, I had an opportunity to interview him in early, maybe late 80s when I was on television. And he said to me, and I wasn't aware at the time, he said, you know, black people weren't always Democrats. We used to be Republicans.
Not used to be, we were.
But this is a quote.
Yeah.
This is what he said.
Now that's a qualification, see, and that's a moderate way because of sensitivity of people, instead of just bluntly saying that's what it was. Well, they used to be, not always, sometimes.
But he was elderly.
Such
He was elderly at this time, so he was just trying to give me,
Yes.
Holloway, a senior. He was trying to give me, he gave me information that I didn't even know.
Yeah, he was
Because at that
schooling
point, I thought we were always Democrats.
you. No, he was schooling you.
Yeah, he did, and it was like 89 when he told me this, and
Let
at
me-
the time, I was like, yeah.
Let me
right.
show you something to give you some supports. Very simple. And this is for people who pretend that they don't know as far as politicians, as far as all your so-called community leader guys. Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, it's, it wouldn't be so tragic if not so many of our youth are lost on the street with those rituals that I don't forgive the so-called black leaders. 99% of whom are 33-degree Masons, know these people are Moors, keep telling them black, which makes them not descendable in law, because you can't transact business in another man's name, no matter how many generations, and be descendable. They are automatically wards of the state. They get all kinds of abuses. They rape their babies. They break their families up and talk about they're helping them. And everybody knows they're doing that, and everybody wants to pretend, well, let's comfort them. Let's take the children to Disney World. Oh, please. Let's raise some funds.
March and pray.
We don't have enough rope for such persons. Because that's what should be done with them, to save our babies and stop playing with their lives. You know, if you, in other words, either tell them the truth, just leave them alone. Leave them alone. Or tell them the truth. They don't want the truth, fine. But don't lie and don't play these little patsy games like we're going to fix something when we know those Romans are the puppeteers. They're controlling the finance, they're controlling the hospitals, they're controlling their schools, and they're controlling their food, and they're controlling their military. And then they've converted all of their rights into licensable activity. where they can guarantee to destroy any family at target, all they want to do. And, you know, they want your house, mess up your wife, huh? They just take your license. And then you go driving down the street and they'll take your license and take you and lock you up for 6 months, destroys your family, quite easily. Then while you're in there, they take your blood and they pump you with nanoviruses. And you take the viruses home when you do get home, and by that time your family's destroyed.
Is that what they did to
It only
Mumia?
takes a short period of time. And then if you have anything, then they'll stick the IRS on you, which is the Inquisition Revenue Services. Has nothing to do with the legitimate republic. It is the Spanish Inquisition, set up by Skull and Bones member Woodrow Wilson to carry out or to reinforce the coup that took place in 1871. And then they're coming out of the closet party was Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 33. Then they openly admitted to their demon order. And the people were so asleep, they said, oh, democracy is good.
Demon.
Here goes my gold and silver.
Yes.
Just as an example, right? Let's put this down just for a minute, and I'm going to show you something.
You need that in there?
No, I said I do have it.
You got it.
Now, this is extract from military manual. And this is, you know, and because people have a tendency to keep believing what politicians say or what their local leader guys say, because they're usually connected. Well, they are connected, you know. I'm going to show you an abstract from military manual. Show you what all politicians know, but this will demonstrate to you the ignorance of the general masses as far as the adults are concerned. So you know the children don't have a chance if the adults are out to lunch, which they are. And I suggest that for the most part, it's not so much that they're out to lunch as they are hypocrites. But when caught, they'll talk that I don't know stuff. Now, this next time, just like, here you go. One can get a better perspective on the corrupted politics, hypocrisy, and frauds which have been and are a notable part of and aspect of the de facto United States corporation company. This is not a country. And of course, people will argue with you, and it's just their belief. No, it's the fact. Even got the corporation papers, can show them to anybody. The devil did that.
Incorporated here?
Huh?
Incorporated in Delaware? Florida.
Florida.
Oh, Florida for that.
Now, as an example, this is direct word for word from the training manual. So that means all politicians, all soldiers, when they're going to other countries, they know that they're carrying out the hegemony. But they're promoting like they're doing something good, when it's really anarchy. This is why you see everywhere they go, death and destruction. But the promise is good. This is their training manual, right? So let's read this, y'all. The Soldiers Training Manual, TM 2000, United States War Department, November 30th, 1928. Keep in mind, this is a few years before Delano Roosevelt did their coming out of the closet party of 33, House Joint Resolution 192, which I'll touch on. I'll just give you a little bit of that so it's clear of your head. So you don't think that when you're doing good things that they're not watching you and doing other things to undermine everything that you do. Doesn't mean that you don't have power. But if you go out there and thinking that they're not putting banana skins in your kitchen, don't hold your breath, just put it that way. It won't be good. All right. So, TM 2025 118-120, democracy. Democracy is a government of the masses, authority derived through mass meeting or any other form of direct expression, results in mobocracy. Attitude towards property is communistic, negating property rights. Attitude towards law is that the will of the majority shall regulate, whether it be based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, and impulse, without restraint or regard to consequences, results in dogmatism, license, agitation, disconnect, anarchy. Now understand, they're all trained with this. So when people react like that, and so the people around the world want democracy, so we're going to go in there and give it to them. Yeah, all right. And then the people, God and country stuff, support it. Man, support our troops to do the democracy thing. No, to carry out the Spanish Inquisition. But they know that the masses haven't been educated. So the masses, through ignorance, take a passive position and wonder why everybody's being injured. TM 2000-25-120-121 Republic. Now, keep in mind, the American Constitution, set at Article 4, Section 4, guarantees a Republican form of government for every state in the Union. That's a requirement for them to be a party to this Union. There is no place in the American Constitution that says anything about some democracy. Only the Republic, specifically. Now, let's read. A republic's authority is derived through the election by the people of public officials best fitted to represent them. Attitude towards property is respect for laws and individual rights and a sensible economic procedure. Attitude towards law is the administration of justice in accord with fixed principles and established evidence, with strict regard to consequences. A greater number of citizens and extent of territory may be brought within its compass, avoids the dangerous extreme of either tyranny or mobocracy, results in statesmanship, liberty, reason, justice, contentment, and progress. Now, so, any child, what do they want, democracy or the republic?
Republic.
Now, for all these leader guys, all these so-called teachers and scholars who are miseducating their children, not by accident, mind you, and the argument that they don't know is only because the public don't know. Do you understand? They all got this. But what is it that we're really dealing with? The people believe in them. Therefore, never question them. Therefore, all of the secondary organizations that we set up to deal with the symptoms of this anarchy that they've created goes to waste because they regulated all of it. And so what do the people do? They waste their time year after year spinning their wheels on a social treadmill and then think the devil's interfering with them. And all of the so-called house of God are spy centers. But you're not supposed to say that. That's against Jesusness. It has nothing to do with that. You even lie on him. He even changed his name. There's no J in Hebrew. J didn't come into language in the 15th century. They're lying all across the board. They get away with it because the people believe in them. It's called dogmata. And in military operations, this is called schismata, divide and conquer. This is why you have sectalisms in religion. It's a military tactic. And the devil didn't do it. Priesthood did. And you say that, and then people say, hey, you don't believe in Jesusness. Hope you go to hell in a handbasket, take your children to I-95 at lunchtime and play, because you didn't give Reverend Jones $5. And you didn't give him Jesus' half either. And they start that. Now you're really got this guilt trip going on. And everybody wants to ostracize you. He is atheist because he didn't pray to Reverend Jones. You mean the one that was Susie with Jesus having the Bahamas last week? Yeah, that one. Don't say those things. I mean, this stuff is forever. It is it's so banal. And yet it's not far. It's not even far beneath the surface of information. People deny it and therefore ignore it and then continue to support the corruption and then expect something good to come out of it. It's not going to happen. Go ahead, good brother.
When you was reading that about the Republic, there's a word you said in there called union.
What?
There's a word you said in there said union, right? About the Republic, it said union.
This is authority.
Where?
Not union.
Or what? No. Or what?
I wasn't in democracy. Okay, well.
That was an oral statement on Article 4, Section 4 of the American Constitution.
Okay, well, you said union, right?
Union.
Unions is definition between two different entities.
Well, that's why you have diversity in Article 3, Section 2.
Okay, well,
That's why you got two seals.
I'm saying now the union is between the United States and who?
The Moorish. That's why your treaty supersedes it.
Okay.
And this is why Article 6 said all debts and contracts entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be binding against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. And all treaties made or which shall be made in pursuance thereof shall be the supreme law of the land. That's why they don't want these people to know they're Moors, because then they don't have to enforce the treaty. They can do the black codes on them. That's why they set up the democracy order, because the treaty supersedes the Constitution. So these people, that's why do you think they tell the people that pyramid is the devil? So they don't recognize their own sovereign seal, which causes what you call abandonment. That's is the devil. And then they're denying their own estate. And then the Europeans are claiming it under Weishaupt. And then they claim to be Illuminati and take all the wealth that actually belongs to the people. And who gets charged? Again, the devil. And it keeps working. And it's like, you know, it's interesting that these people are so thick. It's almost like you gotta kill all their babies before they start recognizing something's wrong. They won't acknowledge it, because they just won't give up their idol god worship that they got from the same Romans that keep lynching them. The same, just like they lynched the Jesus, they lynching them too. They ain't caught on yet? I mean, how many sacrifices do you need? They don't even change the pattern. I mean, they don't even change the pattern. How many generations you need for them to say, well, let me see. This looks like a pattern. You know, like, we can walk around the corner, right? We go this way, we're cool, right? Every time we walk around the corner, Dad, where's your juice? Oh, they took my juice. What, down there? No, they never take it there, they don't want to take it here. Well,
Don't you go the other way?
You know, come back tomorrow and see if they would take it.
this is the
again.
same
Here
way
they
my
come.
grandma been going. I'm going this way. They don't even change the pattern.
Wow.
We're just like
Matter of
that.
fact, they used to dip the sisters in the water down Salem. They take their turbans, and then they turn them around, tie a knot there to symbolically suppress the pineal gland. And then they put it on a pancake box. And the people think it's cool.
And your mama.
They don't even get it. You know, it's like, it's interesting. And do the Wizard of Oz, Tribe of Judah, right? The lion, he's got no heart, punked out, right? And so they in the woods and everything, Dot and then they're all talking, and the lion starts crying and everything. And she said, what's wrong? You're standing on my tail. You know, she's standing on, she's crying, he's a punk, right? And Straw Man, the ends legacy that they created when they created the corpse. And they gave the corpse the quality of person.
Right.
Then registered all their Christian property under the 14th Amendment. The quality of persons, but they're dead. And then they call it corporation. That's the straw man. It's in the Wizard of Oz. And then you have the Tin Man, which represents industry. He's rusty. They've stagnated all the industry, robbed everything. And Dot says, I just want to go home. Right? And the not nice witchy girl that's messing up everything, she said, hey Dot, she was checking out them Gucci's. You want them kicks? And Dot said, no, I'm just so scary. And so the good witch said, ching. And so the red ruby slippers, in the original script there was silver, dealing with the silver. But in the remake of the movie, and she gets the red ruby slippers. Ouch, oh, snap. Tight, boy. Right, so when she transfers the red ruby slippers on Dot, the socks
Curl
under
up.
the house,
Yeah.
in my father's house in Manny Mansion, Zodiac, curl off. That's what's happening today. But it's done because the world has turned their back on Babylon. They're going to let her burn with her own corruption that they put on the rest of the civilized world with their fake documents, their bondage that they put on humanity. But it took the world's economies to start crashing. They knew this stuff all the time. Everybody was calling us out to lunch for marching and praying and doing all the lunchy stuff that we were doing. So now they're dissolving the middle class. Now they want to tell the truth. So they want the republic back. Well, it's done. You can't quit a job, and then go do your thing, then come back and stuff get tight, and then go sit on the desk and talk about, the job back. It's not your job. So they gave up the republic. George and Jefferson, who were deists, they were Christians, they were deists. Told him, says, now, I think it was George said to his woman, she was talking about the republic, he says, madam, you now have a republic, if you're willing to keep it. So what do they have now? They got the demons, don't they? How did they get the demons? By institutionalizing peonage under the connotative word of slavery with the 14th Amendment. So they stole our birthright and lost their own. Now they want the republic back. Well, this doesn't exactly work like that. Do you understand? Now the heirs to the estate have to be awakened to their inheritance because they don't know they have a birthright. Their birthright was stolen. And this is represented in the book of Gene. This is where they do the eugenics to kill us all. Gene, genetics, Genesis, chapter 25, 7, man's number, 2:5, Isaac, Jacob, Esau, theft of the birthright, for a bowl of red pottage. The symbols are all there, but the people don't know the real history, so they can't put it together. But anybody who knows the real history and law sees it clear as day. Because they're not spooked up. Anybody that's blocked by their belief systems can't see it, even though all of the symbols are there, big as day, like neon signs. As an example, 2/11, when Rahm Emanuel left the Obama administration and ran for Chicago, the mayor of Chicago. All right, so now Rahm Emanuel is Ashkenazi, sometimes falsely called Jew. He ran for mayor of Mecca, not Mecca, Chicago, the sister city of Mecca, geographically. And one of the first things he issued from his desk, according to the North Star, North Gate, December the 22nd, the entry of the winter solstice, and entered a proclamation telling the real history here, with the Moors, with Noble Ali, the estate, North America, Central America, South America, clear as day. Then Obama goes to Hikutu, the proper name of Egypt, and he exposes that the American Constitution is derived from Muslim law, the true history. Right? Then Michelle goes to the Alhambra, the last stronghold of the Moors. Then they come back and they have the international community taking pictures of them with them walking through the double doors representing the higher self and the lower self, that is above so below, with the Moorish flag, big as day, to the left. It's not hidden. Then when they was doing that gun running because they stole Gaddafi's gold, that's the real reason because they've been stealing everybody's gold, carrying out the Spanish Inquisition, right? So they murdered him to steal his gold, all right? And after they did that, they started stealing Germany's gold too, which they had in New York. And of course, they came to investigate, and they dropped them buildings. Of course, kerosene planes did it. With melting metal that was melting for months later underground. That was thermonuclear. Everybody in the world knows it except the people here, right? So they stole that gold. So this is basically why you see the other nations are, again, dumping them T-bonds. Because what do? They steal people's gold, then they use it to support their war machine, then they go to and fro the earth, devouring nations. And it's interesting that everybody the pattern has never changed.
That everybody is so terroristic and so...
No, anybody that defends their family is a terrorist. You're a terrorist even if you tell the truth.
Absolutely.
I was looking before we left on a computer, I think Ohio judge, I think it said, threatened somebody, don't come in here with the Constitution. Huh? I think so. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they can be blatant because they know they've got this thing wrapped up. Why should they care about what the people think? The people gave it up. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're arrogant now because they've got this thing locked down. Do you understand? I want you to see this too. I'm going to go to the congressional records in support of this. You know, because like, whatever we do is not in a vacuum.
Right.
You know, and so, goodwill does not leave us. Oh, let me see. I think I got the Trop thing in there too. I can find that in there. Let me go up.
Just search for it.
No, I got it. It's just above this. Here we go.
So you mean they got it locked down for another shorter period of time before they be choked in?
No, that you know that longshoreman strike that they got at the Twin Forks. That's not a strike. That's an embargo. It's a blockade.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a blockade.
So,
That's a blockade. You know the ships that was bringing the oil in Philadelphia in November and just left about maybe 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, right? Drip, drip, drip. That's an embargo. You know what they're going to do? They can't beat the Post Army. They're going to choke them out. 60% of Lower Manhattan now belongs to China.
right.
J.P. Morgan's building belongs to China. All of the ports along the western coast of the entire continent, except for a couple of them in Mexico, belong to China. They stole their gold too, except that the White Dragon Society didn't take it as easily as others did. You know, they go around lynching people. Well, they tried that with them, and they found themselves taking flying lessons without wings.
Did they also do the underground bombing?
Yeah, there wasn't an earthquake.
It was not.
Those domes, there's a couple of their military complexes underground has been there since the 60s. Literal cities, not just mere complexes. Oh, so they're the only ones that do things to people, right? Well, it's kind of, you know, put it this way. It's going to be hard for people who've been bullying everybody else to kind of figure out the flavor of the seasonings of getting it done to them. They're used to killing women and children that have no defense. They're not used to
Right.
coming against men who will do to them what they've been doing to everybody else. And that's what it's coming to. It's coming to that short of nuclear. They're trying to solve this problem without the nuclear. But one thing for sure, they're going to start exterminating. You know, and so the masses aren't aware of it, and it's been going on for quite a while. You understand? And what some of the high priests are doing is killing the middle level bankers so that they won't testify in world courts.
Right.
You know, so meanwhile, the common people aren't really being prepared for what they're getting ready to get hit for. There's another reason why we're doing this trust, telling people put their stuff in trust, because they're going to liquidate everybody's stuff. They're not going to satisfy the debt, but they're going to liquidate, they're going to sacrifice the people, even though they still know they can't win. They're going to sacrifice the people in the process.
Can they use the people as collateral?
Because they already were. See, you got to understand. You got to understand what this is.
Okay.
You already were. See, it's not that they're going to. You were already expendable. It's just that the people are finally figuring it out. They knew it all the time in their heart. But people have been blaming the devil for all their injuries for so many generations, they're just not willing to give that up. You know, and so you see parents in the corner crying, you say, well, what's wrong? And let us comfort you. And he said, I've been writing letters for 10 years, let me testify. I've been writing letters Santa Claus for 10 years. I haven't got a bike yet. And the children are comforting their mom and stuff. Santa Claus is not real. Don't say that. Well, stop. Santa Claus is not real. Get over yourself. And I'm going to the movies, and when I come back, please listen, go to dinner or something, and here's some napkins. You sure? Yeah. It'd be a good idea if we just get over this. And people just don't want to get over it. Santa Claus is not real.
Well, you're forced to make changes now.
Yeah, they've been lying from the beginning. Truth is not in them. It's what it is. No, it's not. But I sacrificed my babies, my husband, my uncles. Yeah. And they didn't get no badges either. Well, no, it's because they were sacrificed. But they know the Lord. Good. Keep holy. Keep it up. You know, hopefully we can save the next generations from buying into this priesthood crap that has corrupted the entire planet. Now, if they want to keep on sacrificing their babies, that's on them. They ain't getting mine. If they come near, they'll be looking at their shoelaces with their head while standing. Save the babies. And don't pray over them. Pray before you take Goliath's head for trying to eat your babies. And stop playing games with G. He's not a nice guy. Anyway, congressional records, right? Here you go, United States, right? This is in support of the military training manual. The major issue that we're presenting is that we, the children and the youth, right, must not grow up under the pretext to think that these people who are governing over their lives are indeed the government.
Right.
Because they are not. They're inquisitionists. They've just disguised themselves, and we bought into the package. And we're constantly trying to fix what they keep breaking, and then we keep funding them to do it. Anyway, United States congressional record, March 17, 1993. This is when Traficant was exposing them. You already know they set him up for 7 years, and they bumped him off, what, month before last? September? September, they bumped him off in September. Accident. Well, anyhow.
Tractor trailer farming accident.
Representative James Traficant Jr., representative of Ohio, addressing the House of Representatives. Now keep in mind, he's addressing this with a cognizant of issues that were spoken before the House with Louis McFadden, 1932 and 1934. And they did their fake bank holiday, 1932, 33, etc., which was an executive order because they're still in the gold and silver, which is the mission. Why they came here. They just incrementally step, and the policy has never changed. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, we're now here in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees. So if you know there's a trust, there's an estate. How come no one talks about estate?